All right, let's get you guys the scoop on the NBA playoffs and some Bronny James news with NBA reporter Brandon Scoop Robinson. How you doing, sir? All's
Brother,
well?
I'm doing good. All is well. Good to see you virtually this time around.
Yeah, last time you was in studio, now we do it over the Zoom. Let's talk about these NBA playoffs. The Celtics ran away with Game 2. They're up 2-0 in that series. Thoughts on Thursday night's game?
I was disappointed that Halliburton could not continue the game, but really the story of the game was the 40 points by Jaylen Brown, a guy that was snubbed on the All NBA team after dominating the last couple of years. And I think that really was a statement game. In a world where we often talk about Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown is the other part of the Brown and Tatum law firm in Boston that really keeps the ship going. So I'm glad to see Jaylen Brown really shine and perform. But it's going to be interesting to see now how the Pacers will respond now going home.
You know what's crazy is that, what was a year or two ago, people were talking about splitting up this duo, saying that Jaylen Brown didn't need to be with Jason Tatum. Now, look, he carried that team last night. This series now goes to Indianapolis. You think the Pacers can win these next two to tie it up? And if Boston gets one in Indy, is it pretty much a wrap on the series?
Well, to your first statement and sentiment about the fact that, people wanted to break that unit up, Jaylen has always rebuffed to that notion, telling me that, he likes playing in Boston. And you saw that Boston ultimately signed him for the immediate future. He's part of their plans. And so now you take the series to Indiana and a point where you've seen many playoffs start out 0-2 and then guys come back. I mean, this is a conversation we were having not too long ago about the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves, where Denver came up huge. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So to me, the pressure, as much as people think it's on the Pacers, to me, the pressure is on Boston to finish what they started, because you've seen this throughout playoff series. Somebody can go up 2-0, somebody can go up big, and you saw that in the Knicks series against the Sixers, where the Sixers started to get a momentum. You also saw it in the last series with the Pacers and the Knicks, where the Pacers got the momentum in the end, and they went on to play the Boston Celtics. So I don't put anything past anyone, because at the end of the day, there's the Celtics, who started at home and they have two games. Now it's the Pacers' turn to tie it up and even the series there.
All right, I'll take your word for it, because I pretty much thought this series was going to be wraps. I think one thing is cool, though, that the Celtics are 8-1 in these playoffs without Kristaps Porzingis. That's something to keep an eye on for when he gets back into that lineup. Let's head out west. Who do you like in this Mavs-Wolves series? I know the Mavs took Game 1, but who do you like in Game 2?
I like the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 2 to even the series. No doubt about it. Kyrie Irving came to play in Game 1, and it proved to be fruitful. That trade that's brought him to Dallas, and also the pieces that were brought at the deadline that have been complementary to both he and Luka. But this isn't a Minnesota Timberwolves team that's young and dumb. They're full of experience with Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, as well as Rudy Gobert and others. I think the key to this series is how the Minnesota Timberwolves both defensively cover Kyrie, but also how some of the other moving parts in this series for Minnesota come alive. I don't think that the total eyeball should be on just what Anthony Edwards can do. I think it's going to be a combination of what some of the other role players do in this series, but I do think that Minnesota has the compatibility to compete with this Dallas Mavericks team, because we've been looking at them as the top seeded team all year, and Dallas came out of nowhere to many people. But I think this series is far from over. I do expect the Minnesota Timberwolves to even this series this evening.
When you talk about the role players, we know about the stars. Who could be an X factor, a guy that we're not talking about that could kind of shift this series to his team's momentum? I hate to put you on the spot, but I mean, we got a lot of good players in this series.
Well, no, you're not putting me on the spot. This is what we signed up for. Greatness is defined by speaking life into guys who can do their thing. And so when you ask me that question, I naturally think of Naz Reid of the Minnesota Timberwolves, currently the NBA's Sixth Man of the Year, has done very well. You know, talking to Nas throughout the course of the season, one thing that he shared with me was that when you looked at the difference between last season and this season, the difference has been in how the bigs have adapted, Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, and really finding a spot that works for them. So I really think Naz Reid will be the difference maker in this series for Minnesota. And then I think on the side of the Dallas Mavericks, to me, Daniel Gafford, a guy that was playing for the Washington Wizards at the beginning of the season, came at the deadline. I think that you're going to see his style of play really accentuate the guard play that is the Dallas Mavericks already. So those are the two people that really stand out to me, Naz Reid of the Minnesota Timberwolves and Daniel Gafford of the Dallas Mavericks.
Really quick scoop before I let you go. It was just reported by Shams Charania that the Phoenix Suns are going to work out Bronny James ahead of the June NBA draft. Bronny has over 10 workout invites. You really think there's a strong possibility that he gets drafted? And I know it's kind of hard to predict, but where do you think would be the best fit for him and his career going forward, if so?
Bronny James, to me, is a talented basketball player. He's knowledgeable, but I think he has the discomfort of being compared to his dad because they have the same name. I'd never thought that the Lakers and being drafted by the Lakers was a good idea. And if all the experts who have said that he should go second round, to me, two teams make the most sense. You look at the second round, the San Antonio Spurs have 2 picks. I think being in San Antonio in that system under Coach Pop would make sense. I know that the Toronto Raptors also have a big interest in Bronny James. I think that any team that is young, any team that is looking to build would benefit from Bronny because I do think Bronny has the potential to last in the league for more than 10 years, but it has to be in the right system. I also think the Miami Heat would be a perfect fit for Bronny because they have a history of developing players. You look at Jaime Jaquez, that has done well in that system. I think he can benefit in either Miami, San Antonio, or Toronto. I don't think the Lakers are a good fit, but I think those teams definitely make sense. I don't think the Pistons make the most sense in the world either, but Toronto, San Antonio, and Miami make the most sense for Bronny James.
All right, real fast scoop. Tell the people they can find you. Shout out your platform.
Scoopy Radio. Subscribe to the all streaming platforms. And Twitter and Instagram is where you can find everything that's going on. Thanks for having me, brother.
All right, enjoy the weekend.
You too.